You're crazy if you don't use Bandcamp. And guess what? It's not an either or. Bandcamp is actually a beautiful complement to the streaming platforms. You should be doing both. In fact, indie record labels and independent artists should always be looking for multiple revenue streams, and Bandcamp is an awesome revenue stream. Hi, Scott here from Other Record Labels, a community and a platform for people who have an independent record label or are thinking of starting an independent record label. And if that's you, make sure you download my free toolkit for record labels by going to otherrecordlabels.com/toolkit. It has stuff like checklists and a workbook and some templates and a sample contract that you can use. Otherrecordlabels.com/toolkit. Today, I want to talk about 10 reasons why you, as an independent record label or as an independent artist, a DIY musician, whatever, should be using Bandcamp. Bandcamp is so great. We've done some other videos on what is Bandcamp, so make sure you check those out. But today, I want to talk about 10 reasons. You ready to dive in? Number one, there's something called passive fans versus active fans. And so I often think of like people who listen to the radio or people who listen to Spotify playlists where something has been curated for them. They're passive fans. I don't want to be disparaging to them at all because they are a very vital part of the entire music business ecosystem, but I consider them to be passive fans because they maybe don't necessarily even go to shows, or they don't buy merchandise, or they actually don't buy downloads. They just enjoy what they're hearing and they trust other people to curate it for them. Versus active fans. And those are the fans who are going to be supporting us and we're going to be serving on a platform like Bandcamp. These are people that will buy merch. They will sign up for a subscription or a Patreon, or they'll just buy downloads because they prefer to own their music than to rent their music like they do on streaming platforms. So that's one of the reasons why Bandcamp is really good, is the difference between passive fans and active fans. And I'm not saying that one type of fan is better than the other, but they complement each other. And so on streaming platforms, we're serving our passive fans, and on Bandcamp, we're serving our active fans. Number two is something I call the Bandcamp Window. And that is this opportunity. Well, on Bandcamp, you can set the release day for any day you want. Most releases on Spotify and Apple Music come out on a Friday. That's kind of the international standard release day. But on Bandcamp, you can do something a little bit different. And you can release your album or EP a day or a week or even a month early on Bandcamp and give those active fans an early Bandcamp window. And so that's something that's totally up to you. I know some labels who do a day before it comes out on streaming platforms. And I know some people who will just randomly do it a week before. I actually put an EP on Bandcamp that was available for about 8 months before I eventually uploaded it to Spotify and to the rest of the streaming platforms. So think about utilizing this Bandcamp window. Number 3 is the ability to message your fans. Very much like how you would have a mailing list on MailChimp, there's a tool right within Bandcamp and within the Bandcamp app where you can message anyone who's bought something from you before, or people who have clicked the follow button on your profile or on your record label profile or on an individual artist profile. You can message those. And if you have a Bandcamp label account, you can be even more specific with who you message. So you could say, I'm only going to message people from this region who have spent this amount of money. So it's a really cool feature. It's available at all the tiers and all the levels of Bandcamp. And it's a great way to stay in touch with your fans. And you can do things like just letting them know that you have a new release out, letting them know that you're running a sale for Black Friday, or even just messaging them out of the blue and wishing them a Merry Christmas, or just saying that you appreciate their support. Number 4 is this great opportunity where fans can follow artists and record labels. Remember before I just mentioned that if they click on the follow button on your profile or on your artist profile, that you can then message them? Well, this whole concept of following is really cool because what happens is when you're a music fan, you follow an artist, you get an email, an actual email every time that they release something new. And so Spotify has this feature where it kind of buried in like the discover or in the search function on the app. It's kind of hard to find, but they'll say like new releases for you. And it's based on the artists on Spotify you follow. And of course, there's like the release radar playlist that includes a couple tracks from artists that you follow. But it's not as easy or as pushed as it is on Bandcamp. When one of the artists or one of the record labels we follow, we get sent this message saying they have a new album out via email. And it's really cool. Another really great thing, going back to that Bandcamp window I talked about, is if a fan follows your record label or one of your artists and you release that album the night before, they're going to get that email before everybody else is aware that the album comes out at midnight. So they're going to have that early window and they'll be notified by email. It's a really cool feature. In fact, anytime somebody buys from you, they're kind of put on this follow list. And so Bandcamp 6 months or 3 years later will say, hey, because you bought this album, we want to tell you about this new release. And so it's a really great way for, even if there's somewhat passive fans on Bandcamp who have previously bought a record from you, and then a few years later you release something new, they're going to be notified. That's a great feature. Let's talk about the record label accounts. And so if you're a record label and you're thinking about signing up for these $20 a month accounts, they're really awesome. And we're going to do a huge walkthrough video of this. And I've talked about it in our Bandcamp course, but it is such a cool feature because it's a little bit pricey, like $20 a month is not nothing, but it's a great feature that allows you to do super cool things. We talked about the targeting in the messaging, but it allows you to bring on existing artists and to create new Bandcamp pages for so many different artists that are on your label. All of those artists will have their own Bandcamp profile, but they're also pointed back to you, which is a really nice feature. And so if a fan is browsing on an artist Bandcamp profile page, looking at all their music, in the top left corner, it'll say, go back to XYZ Records. And so they can click that link and they get taken back to your page where you can have your compilations, you can have all of the releases that fall under your label umbrella, and you can also just sort by the artists that are on your label. So there's so many great features, including batch uploads, that make it worth it for you to do a label account. One of the things I love too is if you sign an artist to your label who is an existing artist and they have maybe 10 or 15 releases already on Bandcamp, but you might just be signing them for their newest release. You can actually just select, with their permission, of course, they give you the password or they grant you access. You can just select the albums that your label will be representing. In this case, it would be just their most recent release. And so they can keep all the revenue from all their previous releases and give you access to just the releases that fall under your new contract. That's a really cool feature. Moving on, number 6 is this amazing feature where fans can pay more. So this is a feature that you actually have to select when you're uploading a new single, EP, or album, or even a merch item. And it gives the fans a prompt to pay more than the price. So let's say you're selling a digital download for $7. Fans can actually enter in $10 if they just want to give you a little bit of a tip. This roundup feature is actually quite amazing. And I don't have the stats. Bandcamp has the stats in their artist guide you can read about. But I know for me, and I've been selling music with my label and as an independent artist on Bandcamp for probably 12 years, I think. I can say that almost half of the people who buy stuff from my Bandcamp page have opted to pay more. Some cases they buy a $8 album for $50. I mean, that's a rare case. Sometimes when I have a new album out and I'm selling it for $8 or $7 for the digital download, somebody will pay $20. That's just their way of saying, hey, listen, you have a new album out every 3 years. I appreciate you as an artist. I stream some of your music on Spotify. I want to make sure that you know I support you. And so they tip you a really big amount. And so you get $20 or $30 for just what would normally be a $6 or $7 record. Sometimes I offer things for free and people opt to pay $1 or $2, even though I'm offering it for free. So that's a really, really cool feature. Make sure you select that box because you will not believe how many people actually agree to pay more as kind of a tip to you, the label, or you, the artist. Number 7 is download codes. Depending on what tier you're on and how many records you've sold on Bandcamp, you get a certain amount of free download codes that export as an Excel document. And you can copy these codes and you can select them for whatever albums you want. And some record labels will post these random codes on Twitter as a way to just give away music for free. Some people will actually print them off on a piece of paper and include them with when people purchase the physical item. So if you're selling a record in store, you can include a Bandcamp code of that same album on MP3 inside the album. So when they go home, they can go to your Bandcamp page and now you have their contact information because they've registered, they've added themselves to your mailing list by downloading this MP3. It's a really amazing feature. It's a little bit of work to print them off, cut them up, and to put them in all the records, but I think it's really worth it. Now, if they've bought that record from Bandcamp, you don't have to do that because it's already added to their library. But another thing that labels do is they print off all these random codes with an address on where to go to download these codes. And they include them in a shipment of a record that's going to a fan or a merch item that's going to a fan that they didn't even order this album. So let's say you buy one record from a record label. Well, they're going to include a free Bandcamp download code for another album on their label just to kind of sweeten the deal and to get you interested in some of their other artists. So make sure you use these Bandcamp codes. They're really cool. Number 8, speaking about codes, is coupon codes. So it's very easy to make a discount code that could be for 10% off an item or 50% off an item. And you can use these codes for some of your diehard fans. If you have fans who support you really well. You can look through your database and say, okay, listen, I have 10 fans who spend like $50 a month with us. We're going to give them a 10% off code that they can use forever. It's like a VIP code. We just want to show that we support them. You can also use codes for sales, like Christmas sales or Black Friday sales or a summer sale. And so you can make a 10% off code or a 20% off code that they can use for physical merchandise or they can use for digital merchandise. It's just a great way to kind of run a little bit of a promotion. And you can include these codes in the messaging app. So if you go to the app and you message your fans, like we talked about at the beginning of this video, you can include one of these codes and say, hey, listen, we're celebrating our 5-year anniversary. Here's a code called 5-year for $5 off or 50% off or whatever you want. So make sure you use those discount codes. They're fun. Number 9 is this collection community feature. So basically what happens is when somebody buys your album, or if you've given them a free download code, they have the option to add it to their library. I think it actually adds it to their collection automatically. And some fans and some Bandcamp users use Bandcamp as like a social media platform where they can actually browse other people's music collections. And there are some music journalists and some other musicians who are on Bandcamp who actually will share their collection with other people. And so you can follow the collection of your friends or of people you admire or music curators that you trust, and you can see what they've purchased or what they've downloaded. And that's actually a great way to advertise your album. And another reason why, as a record label, you want to give out coupon codes to journalists and to friends and to people, because then it's added to their collection. So anybody who's using that platform as sort of like a community feature might actually see your album in somebody's collection and be interested in it, click on it, listen to it, and become a fan. Finally, number 10 is the marriage of physical and digital. There's a lot of online retail stores and, of course, record stores that we love and fairs and festivals where you can buy physical merchandise like cassettes and CDs and vinyl and T-shirts and even sneakers I've sold before on Bandcamp. There is a place for the physical world. In the digital world, we've always had iTunes since the beginning of time. Of course, we have streaming platforms that are available to us. Bandcamp does this thing where it marries both. And that's kind of a rare thing. We don't think about it very much, but in fact, if you buy a t-shirt from an artist, if that t-shirt is attached to a new album, then somebody will be given access to MP3s along with the t-shirt that you ship them in the mail. So that's a really cool thing. If I want to support an artist and buy a merchandise, or if I just want to get a vinyl record, but I also want the music to be added to my iTunes library and I want it to be added to my Bandcamp collection, then I get both at the same time. And that's the beautiful thing about Bandcamp, is marrying digital with physical. I hope that you found this helpful. There's 10 reasons. Passive fans versus active fans, the Bandcamp window, messaging your fans, following artists and other record labels, record label professional accounts, which are really cool. The fact that fans can pay more, download codes and coupon codes, the collection and community feature, and then the marriage of digital and physical. Go to otherrecordlabels.com/toolkit if you are a record label that needs some help getting started, or if you've been a record label for many years and you want to access some of our resources, go to otherrecordlabels.com. Thanks for watching.